In the Old West, few figures are as enigmatic and intriguing as Doc Holliday. A dentist by trade, Holliday's life took a sharp turn from the civilized world of dental tools to the perilous realm of guns, gambling, and gunfights. Known for his quick wit, sharper aim, and a reputation that preceded him wherever he went, Holliday's story is one of stark contrasts, of a man torn between his Southern gentleman roots and the rough and tumble existence of a gunslinger. How did a once promising dentist from Georgia become one of the most feared and legendary figures in the Wild West? The truth is as riveting as any tale spun in a dusty saloon. When Doc Holliday passed away in 1887 at the age of 36, his close friend Wyatt Earp captured the essence of his brief but intense life with a few choice words. He was a dentist whom necessity had made a gambler, a gentleman whom disease had made a vagabond, a philosopher whom life had made a caustic wit, a long, lean, blond fellow, nearly dead with consumption, and at the same time the most skillful gambler and nerviest, speediest, deadliest man with a six-gun I ever knew. Holliday, trained as a dentist, first made his way to Texas during the turbulent final years of the American frontier. It wasn't long before he earned a reputation as a gambler with a fiery disposition and a willingness to back it up with a gun. Even during his lifetime, Holliday became a figure of legend, and that legacy has only expanded since his death. The 1993 film Tombstone, where Val Kilmer portrayed him, solidified Holliday's place as a lasting icon of the Old West. But how much of what we know about Doc Holliday is rooted in fact, and how much is embellished by legend? Let's delve into the extraordinary life of the man behind the myth, the making of Doc Holliday's Old West legend. Before Doc Holliday became a legendary figure of the frontier, he was simply a boy from the South. Born John Henry Holliday on August 14, 1851, in Griffin, Georgia, he was the son of Henry Burroughs Holliday, a physician, and Alice Jane McKee Holliday. Henry B. Holliday must have been a shining example to his son. During Holliday's early years, his father served in the Confederate Army, was elected mayor twice, engaged with the County Agricultural Society, participated in the local Masonic Lodge, became the secretary of the Confederate Veterans Camp, and oversaw local elections as superintendent. His father's life was marked by community involvement and respectability, something Holliday himself would later deviate from. Holliday's mother Alice was devoted to her son. Though her husband had brought home an adopted child, Francisco, from his service in the Mexican-American War, John Henry was her first biological child to survive infancy. Born with a cleft palate, Holliday required extra care, particularly with his speech development. However, tragedy struck when Holliday was just 15. His mother, whom he was very close to, died of tuberculosis. This loss marked the end of Holliday's childhood in many ways. The pain of her death was deepened when his father, disregarding the South's mourning traditions, remarried only 3 months later. This swift remarriage led to a legal conflict with his late wife's family over her estate. Despite the turmoil within his family, Holliday appeared to be following a respectable path. In 1870, he enrolled at the Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery, where he graduated 2 years later. Beneath the surface, the young man's notorious temper was always present. In 1872, an incident highlighted this when Holliday, upset by the presence of black boys at his favorite swimming spot, reportedly pulled out a shotgun. According to his cousin, whose father witnessed the event, Holliday fired over their heads, intending to scare them off. However, Bat Masterson, a contemporary of Holliday's, recounted a more severe version in a 1907 profile, claiming that Holliday waited until the boys were gathered together and then fired, resulting in fatalities and injuries. The truth of this incident, like much of Holliday's life, is clouded by the legend that grew around him. The exact details and consequences remain uncertain, with some suggesting that this episode prompted Holliday to head west. However, most historical sources agree that his move was driven by his health. After establishing his dentistry practice, Holliday was diagnosed with consumption or tuberculosis, the same illness that had claimed his mother. Given only a few months to live, a doctor advised that the dry air might prolong his life, leading Holliday to make the significant decision to journey westward, moving out to the American frontier. In October 1873, Doc Holliday made his way to Dallas, Texas. He arrived at the edge of the American frontier just as it was beginning to recede. At that time, Dallas was seen as the last major city before reaching the untamed western frontier. But this wouldn't last long. The frontier was rapidly shrinking. The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869 had made western lands more accessible, and by 1890, the U.S. Census Superintendent noted that a clear frontier line no longer existed. Americans had surged westward, driven by the pursuit of gold, opportunities, and new beginnings. However, in Holliday's time, the West was still very much a wild place. Once in Texas, Holliday attempted to build a respectable life. He leveraged his education and began working as a dentist, which is when people began referring to him as Doc. However, his battle with tuberculosis persisted. His frequent and intense coughing fits unnerved his patients, leading to a decline in his business. Eventually, Holliday had to seek alternative ways to earn a living. Given his intelligence and resourcefulness, he turned to gambling. Gambling became the spark that ignited Doc Holliday's adventures in the Wild West. He proved to be skilled at it, but gambling carried its own set of risks, not only financial, but also personal. To protect himself, Holliday carried a revolver and allowed his reputation for having a quick temper to spread. In 1875, while in Dallas, Holliday had a confrontation with a saloon keeper named Austin that escalated into a dangerous situation. After leaving town, he encountered further trouble in Fort Griffin for engaging in illegal gambling. Moving on to Jonesboro, Holliday embraced the persona of the deadly dentist. He traveled from Texas to Denver, then from Denver to Cheyenne, drifting through various Old West towns. By 1877, Holliday had returned to Fort Griffin, Texas. It was here that he would meet two people who would significantly impact his life: Mary Catherine, Big Nose Kate, Horny, and Wyatt Earp, the fateful friendships of John Shancy's saloon. Horny and Holliday met, as might be expected, in a bar. Doc was dealing cards at John Shancy's saloon, while Horny was working as a dance hall girl and a prostitute. In Horny, Holliday found someone who matched his own temperament. She was strong-willed, stubborn, and had a fiery disposition similar to his. At the same saloon, Doc Holliday also crossed paths with a lawman named Wyatt Earp. Earp was visiting from Dodge City, Kansas, in pursuit of a train robber named Dave Rudabaugh. As a card dealer, Holliday was well informed about the movements of people in town. He shared crucial information with Earp, which eventually led to Rudabaugh's capture. This exchange marked the beginning of an important friendship. After Holliday ran into trouble in Fort Griffin, he and Horny followed Earp to Dodge City. There, Doc Holliday attempted to lead a more respectable life. He started a dental practice, even placing an advertisement in the Dodge City Times in June 1878. However, his relationship with Horny became strained, leading her to leave him, and Holliday returned to gambling. While his relationship with Horny deteriorated, his bond with Earp grew stronger. One night at the Long Branch Saloon, a group of cowboys stormed in and began causing a commotion. Among those present were Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp. One cowboy, who had previously clashed with Earp, shouted a threat, challenging him to a showdown. Before anyone could act, Doc Holliday intervened, placing his revolver at the cowboy's head and telling him to either draw his weapon or surrender. Wyatt Earp later reflected on this moment as the true beginning of their friendship. He remarked, "I am a friend of Doc Holliday because when I was city marshal of Dodge City, Kansas, he came to my rescue and saved my life when I was surrounded by desperados." By the end of 1879, Wyatt Earp decided to join his brothers, Virgil and Morgan, in the Arizona mining town of Tombstone. Doc Holliday soon followed. However, as was often the case, trouble was never far behind Holliday, and it certainly caught up with him in Tombstone. Doc Holliday and the gunfight at the OK Corral. Doc Holliday and the Earp brothers are most famously associated with the events that unfolded in Tombstone, Arizona, the shootout at the OK Corral. Although Holliday was not a lawman himself, he had allied with law enforcement figures, notably Wyatt and Virgil Earp. In Tombstone, where lawlessness was prevalent, Virgil Earp worked as the town marshal to maintain order. Holliday and the Earp brothers frequently clashed with a group known as the Caucus County Cowboys. This faction, involved in cattle rustling, included two pairs of brothers, Ike and Billy Clanton, Frank and Tom McLaury, along with other members like Billy Claiborne and Johnny Ringo. In October 1881, tensions between the cowboys and the lawmen reached a critical point, largely due to Doc Holliday. On October 25th, Holliday had an altercation with Ike Clanton at a Tombstone saloon, exchanging threats before Virgil Earp intervened. Clanton later encountered Wyatt Earp, further escalating the situation. The following afternoon, Ike and Billy Clanton, Tom and Frank McClory, and Billy Claiborne gathered on Fremont Street between Fly's Photo Gallery and Jersey's Livery Stable. Word of their intentions to kill Doc Holliday reached the Earp brothers. Virgil Earp, determined to address the threat, gathered his brothers Wyatt and Morgan, and Holliday, eager to be involved, insisted on joining them. According to Tom Clavin's Tombstone, Holliday directly asked if he would be left out, to which Wyatt Earp responded that it was not his concern. Holliday retorted, "That is a hell of a thing for you to say to me," showing his determination to be part of the confrontation. The Earp brothers and Holliday confronted the cowboys near the OK Corral. Virgil Earp demanded that the cowboys surrender their weapons, but instead, both sides drew their guns. In the ensuing exchange, which lasted only 30 seconds, 3 cowboys were killed and 30 shots were fired. This brief but intense gunfight would become a defining moment in Western history. The gunfighting dentist. Doc Holliday is most famously remembered for his role in the shootout at the OK Corral, particularly poignant as he passed away just 6 years later. Over time, his legacy has only grown, but some aspects of his reputation might be exaggerated. He is often reported to have killed many people, but these claims are difficult to verify. Even Virgil Earp, a close associate, believed that Holliday's violent reputation was inflated. In a statement to the Arizona Daily Star, Earp remarked, "There was something very peculiar about Doc. He was gentlemanly, a good dentist, a friendly man, and yet outside of us boys, I don't think he had a friend in the territory." He continued, "Tales were told that he had murdered men in different parts of the country, that he had robbed and committed all manner of crimes, and yet when persons were asked how they knew it, they could only admit that it was hearsay, and that nothing of the kind could really be traced up to Doc's account." The portrayal of Holliday by Val Kilmer in the 1993 film Tombstone helped cement his status as a Wild West legend. According to Gary Roberts, a biographer of Holliday, Doc appeals to something deep and visceral in the human psyche, explaining his ongoing fascination. One of the film's most memorable scenes features Kilmer's Holliday telling Johnny Ringo, "I'm your huckleberry," before a dramatic confrontation. Although it is unconfirmed whether Holliday ever used this phrase, it was first associated with him in a 1928 book by Walter Noble Burns. Furthermore, Ringo's death, often linked to Holliday in popular accounts, was officially ruled a suicide at the time, though numerous theories have emerged since. The line between truth and myth surrounding Doc Holliday remains blurred. However, his death is well documented. Holliday traveled to Glenwood Springs, Colorado, in May 1887, hoping that the hot springs would alleviate his tuberculosis, but they proved ineffective. On November 8, 1887, Holliday, then 36 years old, took a final shot of whiskey while in bed. Just before he passed, he looked at his bare feet and commented, "This is funny." Holliday had always expected to die with his boots on. Doc's memorial service. On November 12, 1887, the Glenwood Springs Ute chief published an obituary stating that Doc Holliday had been baptized in the Catholic Church. This information was derived from correspondence between Holliday and his cousin, Sister Mary Melanie, a Catholic nun. However, no baptismal record has been found at either St. Stephen's Catholic Church in Glenwood Springs or Annunciation Catholic Church in nearby Leadville. Holliday's mother was initially raised as a Methodist, but later joined the Presbyterian Church to align with her husband's faith. She publicly reconverted to Methodism before her death, expressing her wish for her son, John, to understand her beliefs. Holliday himself later claimed to have joined a Methodist church while in Dallas. By the end of his life, Holliday had formed friendships with both Father E.T. Downey, a Catholic priest, and Reverend W.S. Randolph, a Presbyterian minister in Glenwood Springs. When Holliday passed away, Father Downey was out of town, so Reverend Randolph conducted the burial service at 4 p.m. on the same day of Holliday's death. The service was reportedly well attended by many of Holliday's friends. Burial of Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday is interred in Linwood Cemetery, which overlooks Glenwood Springs. Given that Holliday passed away in November, it's likely that the ground was frozen. Modern authors like Bob Bowes-Bell have speculated that transporting him to the cemetery, which was accessible only by a challenging mountain road or digging a grave in frozen soil, would have been difficult, if not impossible. However, author Gary Roberts found evidence that other bodies were transported to Linwood Cemetery around the same time of year. Contemporary newspaper accounts confirm that Holliday was buried at Linwood Cemetery, but the precise location of his grave remains unclear. There is no official documentation to support the claim, but some sources suggest that Holliday's father, Major Henry Holliday, a prominent figure, may have had his son exhumed and reburied in Griffin's Oak Hill Cemetery. The legacy of Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday is one of the most iconic figures of the American Old West, primarily remembered for his close association with Wyatt Earp and his involvement in the gunfight at the OK Corral. Their friendship has become a defining example of loyal sidekicks in American Western narratives, with Holliday often depicted as the archetypal deputy and steadfast ally. In modern portrayals, Holliday is shown as unwaveringly loyal to Wyatt Earp, standing by him through major confrontations, including the gunfight at the OK Corral and Earp's subsequent vendetta. These portrayals emphasize their shared struggles and the strong bond between them. As a result, Holliday, alongside Earp, has come to represent enduring themes of loyalty, camaraderie, and friendship. Holliday himself claimed to have been arrested 17 times, survived 4 attempts on his life by hanging, and evaded ambushes on 5 separate occasions. These assertions reflect the tumultuous and dangerous life he led, further cementing his legendary status in Western history. A historical marker now commemorates the home of Doc Holliday's uncle in Fayetteville, Georgia. On March 20, 2005, a life-size statue of Holliday and Wyatt Earp, created by sculptor Dan Bates, was unveiled by the Southern Arizona Transportation Museum. This statue, located at the restored historic Railroad Depot in Tucson, Arizona, marks the approximate spot where Frank Stillwell was killed by Wyatt Earp, an event that occurred exactly 122 years prior. In Griffin, Georgia, where Holliday was born, annual celebrations known as Doc Holliday Days take place. Additionally, Valdosta, Georgia, held a Doc Holliday look-alike contest in January 2010, coinciding with its sesquicentennial celebration. Tombstone, Arizona also hosts an annual event called Doc Holliday Days, which began in 2017. This celebration, held on the second weekend of August, honors Holliday with activities such as gunfights, a parade, and a look-alike contest. Notably, Val Kilmer, who portrayed Holliday in the 1993 film Tombstone, served as the Grand Marshal for the 2017 event, while Dennis Quaid, who played Holliday in the 1994 film Wyatt Earp, took on the same role in 2018. As we've explored, Doc Holliday's story is as complex as it is legendary, spanning from his days as a respected dentist to his notorious role as a gunslinger in the Wild West. The truth behind his life is a blend of bravery, skill, and undeniable charisma, painting a picture of a man who defied the odds and became a true icon of American history. If you enjoyed this dive into Doc Holliday's remarkable life, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fascinating stories from the Old West. Share this video with fellow history enthusiasts and stay tuned for our next adventure into the past. Your support helps us keep uncovering the legends and truths of the Old West.